Welcome to Suger and Ink, a podcast about living the plus side of life.
Hi, I'm Sugar from Sugarcoat It.
And I'm Samara from Blonde Ink.
And you're listening to the Suger and Ink Podcast. Welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining us for episode, I think we're up to 4 of season 3, which is super exciting.
Killing it.
I know. I kind of don't want to start again with the we're setting a new record because I feel like that joke has been used the last 3 episodes. But yeah. Basically, before I get too far into old jokes that we've told 100 times, today we're going to be talking about our relationships, basically. So where we're at, talking about our partners, just things that we've learnt in the last 12 months, because I know Samara's situation definitely changed with the whole wedding thing, and ours changed because it was kind of a hard year for us last year. And while we were still pretty great together, it definitely took some work. So let's dive into that business, I guess.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's hash it out on the internet.
And I'm doing it over alcohol, which makes it super easier. I just need to point out the elephant in the room because it's happening as I do it. And Miss Responsible.
Yeah. I'll tell them what I've told you. I've got my giant mug here. Samara's got a glass of champagne, but my giant mug is actually full of Coke. Because I'm so responsible.
Yeah, I feel like yours is reflective of your day or maybe night before, and mine is reflective of how I'm going to feel tomorrow.
Yeah, I accidentally got really drunk yesterday, last night, and I think it was a Monday, so I'm just going to put that out there. We're not recording this on a Friday night or anything.
No, it's a Tuesday and this is happening.
I don't know. Yeah, I had a day yesterday. I definitely had pushed my brain further than it could go. I was doing a tender for my day job-ish sort of thing. Day job-ish.
Tenders are the worst. Oh.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, and this one was for concrete pathways, so it wasn't riveting by any stretch of the imagination. It was just I love my guys and I love working with them in construction, but it's times like that I remember that, this job isn't anywhere near as much randomly fun as my other, working for myself gig.
Did you start drinking during writing the tender? Because I feel like you'd need to jazz it up.
I probably should have thought of that. I did have a hamburger though, from the local shop. So that was my way of self-medicating through the tender process. Giant hamburger with pineapple and beetroot. No carrot.
You had me till pineapple. Can't do fruit and meat. Can't do fruit and meat. Yeah, look at you.
Today I'm pineapple boobs. I grew up on a pineapple farm. I have to be team pineapple.
Oh, can't do pineapple. No, just fruit and meat. Can't Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah. See, I like it. Yeah, well, like I said, I'm team pineapple. Though that said, I don't like it in things like sweet and sour, and I hate apricot chicken. So usually I hate fruit that's hot, but for some reason pineapple is a bit of an exception when it comes to pizza and hamburgers.
Weird.
Girls got to have exceptions. Anyway, that's my relationship with pineapple and booze. Both are chugging along nicely. Chugging literally being a thing. But yeah, so... Anyway, tell us, how is married life treating you?
Married life is exactly the freaking same as non-married life, which I think is good because nothing's changed, and I liked how it was before. Yeah, so I feel like there's, you know how you kind of people, I suppose, expect maybe marriage to change things. You know, if relationships aren't going well, marriage and babies seem to be thought of as the thing that's going to fix it.
Yeah, that would be a terrible plan, I think.
Yeah. But no, it's totally the same. The only difference is now instead of saying my partner, it's my husband, and I have a little giggle afterwards because I'm like,
the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Husband type person.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Jake calls me the old lady, but...
Oh, really?
We've been watching too much Sons of Anarchy. It's like a biker term. The old lady.
Yeah, okay. I did watch that. What was the Australian... Oh, it's based on a true story. It was Bikey Wars, I think it was called.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That thinks it's tough. I mean, he just watches it. He definitely doesn't live it out in his everyday life.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
But
yeah, otherwise it's now, I think it's been like 8 or 9 months since we got married. Mm-hmm. And like straight after we got married, it was, you know, like babies.
I was about to say, so have people been like, so when are you having kids? How many are you having? Are we having them immediately? Like, what's the plan?
Yeah, particularly because we're in our 30s. I think they're kind of like, come on, like it's time.
They're like,
what's happening?
The time is now.
Your uterus is ready. It's just going to shrivel up and die from here on out. That's what I feel like people say.
Yeah,
but
people are dicks.
Yeah, I've looked into that. You know how they say, you know, you're most fertile in your early 20s, I think it is, and then it gets worse. Yeah. But apparently that study's based from like 100 years ago.
Oh.
It's not like recent medical information.
I hate to say it, but it's probably worse. We eat so much more crap. Like, it's probably worse.
Hormone.
You're probably most fertile between like 12 and 17 now.
Which is a horrifying
Which
thought.
I completely do not recommend using that window to birth children. This is not the 1800s, people.
No.
But yeah.
And that's now something that's something we have to think about is our age. I think, oh my God, like I am in my 30s. Now we've really got to kind of plan it out. So we think, you know, we've been talking about it, and I mentioned before to you, before we recorded, how I'm horrified and just do not want to physically have a child, but I feel like it's going to have to happen.
So you want a child, you just don't want to have to, like, go through that whole process.
I don't want to be pregnant, and I don't want to give birth. If I could just be knocked out for 6 months and wake up, I'd be okay. But apparently that's not how it works. So, yeah.
I've often asked Kelvin, because obviously we're at the point now where I'm a no. I'm not interested in having kids. And it's funny that you mentioned that people tell you the clock's ticking for you, because when I tell people that no, kids aren't on the, like, plan for me, they're like, oh, you're young. You've got plenty of time. You'll change your mind.
Right.
And it's like... When I actually, like 6 years ago, when we were trying for kids and I was 29, people were like, TikTok, that window's closing. And now it's like, you're young, you've got time, you'll probably change your mind. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, man.
Yeah, and I think that pressure, like there is a bit of society pressure on us in like, we better get this going. At the same time, I'm really enjoying no children.
Yeah, like, it's lovely.
It's so nice. We sleep in, we can go out, and the only thing we have to think about is feeding the dogs before we go. Yeah, we can lock them in laundries, in bathrooms, and we don't get arrested.
Yeah.
Like, it's really nice. Our whole family, well, his family mainly make fun of us because his brother and sister-in-law have children, so they're up at the crack of dawn. Yeah. So if we go on a family holiday, they've been up since 5 a.m. and we're getting up at 9. And they're like, you know, one of the kids is going down for a nap already. That's how long we've been up, and you bitches are just getting up now.
Yes. Yeah, that happens in my family too. Like when we all go away together, or even just stay somewhere, or even when mum and dad have breakfast sometimes at their house, it's like, should we make it 7 o'clock? And I'm always like, but I get there. I managed to get my butt there. But, yeah, I don't know how I'd go with that. My nephews, both of them at various stages in their lives, have loved waking up at 4:30 in the morning and calling that a whole new day. If I got up that early every day, I'd, like, vomit on something. It puts my whole body out of whack.
Oh. Awful. So I'm really curious with your...
Like, oh my God, how did we get here? I'm just like, terrible. Do you guys have any
Kids
idea
are
how
horrible.
early that is?
So with your no, there's no children for us, do you find that people, so you get the reaction of like, oh, you'll change your mind, but do you get anyone who kind of agrees, is like, oh yeah, that's me too? Or
I'm surrounded, like most of my, like both of my siblings and all of my cousins that I'm quite close to all have kids or are in the process of having kids. And because that was something that, we got married when we were 20, 5 years later, we decided we'd try for kids. 4 years later, we had nothing to show for it. And then we decided, we'll put some money aside and we'll try IVF or just some sort of assisted, medical situation. And every time we had money put away, we'd just find some other reason to spend it. And I'm like, dude, we really need to consider whether or not this is something we actually want to do, or whether we're just ticking a box that we thought we should tick. And even though I do believe Kel probably would still love to have a kid, I'm definitely not in that boat anymore, and that's something that obviously we have to have ongoing conversations about. Yeah, so in that sense, people are like aware that we changed our plan or, we're trying and then stopped. So I think most of them think it's probably just some sort of defense mechanism, like a response to the experience of trying and failing. And so they're like, oh, I know this girl who she stopped trying and it happened for her. And I'm like, oh no, this is a legitimate, like, shop is closed situation.
Like, we're done. We're done. Yeah.
I love my nieces and nephews. I love having them around. The eldest is Gabby. She's 18 very soon. And the youngest is Indy. She'll be like a year old very soon. We're surrounded by all these amazing, beautiful, gorgeous children. But I'm just glad that they don't live here.
They're not up at 4:30 with you going.
Well, they could be, but I'd still be in bed yelling, "Keep it down! I want to hear from you. Find an iPad. Shut the hell up!" No, I try not to yell "shut the hell up" at the children. Auntie of the year. We're all quite boisterous in our family, so the children are very much the same. But so the people that I'm around and all that sort of situation there, they think it's a bit of a defense. I think some of them, it's not a conversation that we deliberately had directly with people, like shop closed. It was something we talked about. Obviously, it's our relationship and our life. But I just, now if people mention it, if they ask me if we're planning to have kids, I just say no. And most of them, knowing our past, just don't go into it any further or leave it at that. The really curious ones are like, oh, so tell me more about that.
Yeah, that's good. At least I suppose people are respecting the privacy side of it a bit. And it's probably one of the most unspoken things ever is women who say not interested.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I read a lot because at one stage for most of my life, I was like, not happening. Yeah. And I think for me, it was all the men I dated, I was like, there's no fucking way I'm having children with you because you'd be useless. This wouldn't be a partnership deal. And then I think I just couldn't do it. It'd be like having another child because you're already like a child. And then like meeting Jake and that, I think, okay, I could do it with you. I could do it. I think we could manage it and we'd be okay. Yeah. But I read all these things about women who kind of say, no, I'm not interested, and then felt pressured because of partners in society, and they really regret it. Like they really, really regret having their children, and they feel like it really took something from them, and that if they could turn it back, they would have chosen a different path. But it's such a taboo thing for women to talk about, regretting that decision, because I feel like you can't ever say you regret having your children. Yeah.
It's something that I've spoken about with my siblings and cousins, like the close ones, along the way. You know, the idea, especially now that I'm saying, look, this isn't something that I want, I do think that brings up the topic of conversation a fair bit. Like, most of them didn't plan to have their children when they did. You know, it was just the next step in a relationship, and often for some of them more of a surprise than not, and all that sort of thing. And I think there's definitely a conversation to be had for just finding yourself in this situation of being a mother. And I think when I'm there and I'm saying, look, I don't want it, I'm not choosing it for myself, and for me, I get the privilege of that because clearly my body doesn't fall pregnant. Like, I'm not someone who fall pregnant easily. I definitely don't carry easily. So in that sense, it's a bit of a privilege because the chances of me accidentally falling pregnant and ending up with a child are quite slim to none. So in that sense, I definitely have a different story and a different situation to them. But it makes them then consider, well, I didn't really have a choice in this. It just kind of happened to me, and I love my kids, but what would my life look like without my kids? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, what would be different, and how would I be different? Because, well, I had my first miscarriage only like about a month before I started my blog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I could have had a kid as old as my blog, which is what, nearly 9. Oh, I guess you have to deduct the time it takes to cook it. But, so 8-year-old, I could have an 8-year-old. And I definitely wouldn't have had the time that I have had to establish my blog and my business and my life in the way that I have, had I been raising a child for those 8 years. Like, I know it can be done. My mother always worked and had businesses and stuff, but do I think my life would look different? 100%, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder, it's interesting to think what would it look like, and would you feel as fulfilled because now you're following the career path that you really, really want.
Yeah.
And the different decisions you'd have to have maybe made, if things had gone differently.
I think realistically, if you're doing something that you love, I think you get there in the end. But I don't think I'd be where I am now and in the position that I am now. I think I'd be either at the starting gate because he or she would have just started school last year or the year before. Things like that. I think I might only be a year or 2 years into the journey, but that's assuming I had one. My family, my dad's one of 11, my mum's one of 5. They're breeders, so
they're big families. Families.
My brother has 3 kids. 2 of my closest cousins have 3 kids. Like, people around here really knock them out, and
You might have been a mummy blogger.
I could have been the worst mummy blogger you've ever heard in the history of mankind. But, I totally could have rocked that T-shirt.
Yeah, 100%. So you said that, like, you and Kelvin have to, like, talk about that because, and so, like, you were saying you've been together now, like, 15 years?
Yeah, so 15 years coming, like, this month, pretty much, and we will have been married 13 years come August, so... Yeah, it's been a while, and I feel like we were joking the other day, you know how people say the 7-year itch, and sort of we've had that twice now, so...
You're up to your second.
On a roll. But yeah, it's interesting, and I think, especially since when we started our relationship, the plan was get married, buy a house, have a business, have kids. I think that was an interesting conversation, and one I put off having for a really long time because I needed to genuinely be in a place that I knew I didn't want to just have kids because Kel wanted to, but I also knew that if I was the one changing the rules and that if it was a deal breaker for him, then it was going to be a deal breaker for him, you know? So I had to face that a little bit and face the fact that by really sticking to my guns, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, that technically I could have ended my relationship. You know, because if he had wanted kids, then I was quite clear that I wasn't going to stand in his way, but also that I wouldn't be the person to have those kids for him.
Yeah.
Or even raise kids for him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't even have a dog. Like, yeah. I wasn't going to be that person. And that was a change in the whole, what I call like the base agreement of our relationship. You know, we had an idea of what we wanted and we agreed on that, and those were the terms set, and I was like reneging on my part of the deal, and I was just like, sorry, man, we need to renegotiate. We need to renegotiate terms.
But that's relationships, isn't it? Like, you think, like, because if you're together for a long time, like 15 years, I think about how much I've changed from being 16 and now turning 31. Like, even if it was older, say 20 and 35, you're a totally different person. So
completely different.
Yeah.
We've grown up together, really, because when we met at 20, neither of it, like, he had just lost his job for doing something stupid, and I was working in pubs and like at the golf club in the bar and stuff like that. So, you know, we weren't adults really, like we weren't grown up, and we've done all that growing up together, and 15 years of renegotiating the terms. We're still here, so go team.
Yeah, I think it's probably a testament to you guys and how you respect each other to renegotiate, if like that's what we'll call it, renegotiate.
I'm a real estate brat. You have to call it renegotiate.
But some relationships, you know, where people just kind of push it under the rug maybe as to how their feelings have changed about certain things, and I think at least you're open and honest about it. So you're not wasting each other's time either by saying, for 15 years, my heart's not been in it, or
It's so important, and it really does, you know, it's one of those cliches, but it's a cliche because it's true, is because you just have to keep communicating. And that's been my experience anyway, and I'm lucky enough to have a great example. My parents have been married for literally 100 years. How old am I? 35. They were married for 7 years when they had me. So, they've been married 42 years.
Wow. 15's a lot, and then 42's like, oh my God.
They're a great example to us. It's so much time. But it's so much time. So that's what I think. I think you have to keep communicating, and I think that neither of us would have been happy if I just had children because it's what he wanted. Yeah. Because I've witnessed the experience of women when it comes to children, and for all the progress that's been made, and, you know, I was raised by, my dad worked on the farm, so he was often home first and cooking, and, you know, I'm from quite a balanced household in terms of child caregiving. But more often than not, it falls to the woman. The responsibility falls to the woman. And if I was just doing it because he wanted it, then I'm just like, I'm not going to have a child that is my responsibility, like whether that be wholly or in part, because you want to.
Yeah.
Which, God, that's awkward to say, because some people probably maybe would. Like, if they knew their relationship could be on the line, and, you know, if Kelvin had said to me that day, okay, well, thanks for your honesty, but this is a deal breaker for me, you know, maybe I would have caved and be like, fine, let's try one. You know? I don't know. I don't know what the outcome, if it actually came to shove, but I was pretty clear that I wasn't going to have a child that I didn't necessarily want, and certainly didn't have any sort of urge to have, you know. I think that's when it goes badly. I think that's when, you know, you can end up really regretting your choice. Not regretting that your child is alive or regretting that they're in this world, but regretting, you know, that your choice.
Yeah. Jake and I definitely have like, while we both agree we would, before we got married, that we would like to have children, I 100% wanted to adopt children. I did not want to, I have no physical desire whatsoever. You know, some women, like, they want to be pregnant and feel all that and do all that. I have no desire in the world at all. I'll happily go my whole life never knowing what that feels like.
Yeah, same.
I'd be very happy. But at the same time, adopting is such a long process.
Yeah.
It's an expensive process. So we've kind of had to negotiate that we will have one and then we will adopt one rather than go through adoption twice. Because as well, he's like, we can't just have one kid. Only childs are weird. Like, we need to give it a sibling, give some social skills. And he comes from a 2-child house. I come from a 3. So for us, we don't know what a 1-child house would be like. We just assume that they're weird when they're probably not.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Everyone's like, but I think it's like when you have a wedding and people ask when the baby's coming. I think this second child's a bit like that. You have the first, when's the second coming? You can't possibly leave it without a sibling.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's probably one of those things. Give it a friend.
Yeah. And it's definitely, like, I'm not the closest with my brother and sister. We all live far away. But then he lives in the same city as his brother and they were only a couple of years apart. So we come from different sides. But having siblings was nice as a child. Yeah. And I'm sure as we have our own families, maybe we'll come back together because we'll have cousins. But so we had to negotiate that kind of, okay, we'll have one physically and then we'll adopt one second. So we both kind of get both sides of what we were after.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine when we looked at the process, and depending on the country, it's not even an option. Like, there's a couple of countries where a parking fine is considered a criminal record. I was like, well, I have like 20 criminal records. We're out. Like, I get parking fines like candy. I'm terrible. And so that really, limits it to which country you can go to. And then as you weigh up the options and you kind of go, oh, these are the only places we can adopt from, you do then think about the children, what comes with those children, how long it will take, and all those sorts of things. There's so much. It actually makes you probably think more about having a child than just going and getting pregnant. Yeah. Because you've got to think about all these different things beforehand. Yeah.
It's definitely a plan.
Yeah.
Completely different to an accidental pregnancy. Yeah. In experience terms. Even just falling pregnant.
It really makes you, like, you really have to wait. Like, some of them are even, you've got to earn a certain amount. Yeah. And, at some stage you might think, we won't worry about money, we'll just try for a baby. But in these situations, you really have to think, they have to look at what you earn, what your health looks like. Yeah. Are there other children in the house, your criminal record, your parking fine history, and all these other things, when it's amazing that those checks aren't even there to have your own baby, which is a little bit scary.
Nothing. There's literally nothing.
No,
if you can make it happen, because even IVF, they start to, put a few disclaimers on it and, get a bit fussy about who they'll do it for and who they won't and all that sort of stuff. But if you can, I need to stop saying breed. But if you can do it and you can do it as freely as you like, that's crazy.
It's so weird, isn't it? It's so weird.
Strange.
Yeah, though, it's a weird process.
I get that it's a slippery slope if you start regulating people's, opportunity to breed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that's weird. But at the same time, I'm like, once you're pregnant, you should at least have to take a test.
Or like a course. Like a basic how to not kill your baby course. But yeah.
Like baby 101.
Yeah, I can sit here and judge wholeheartedly in that some people definitely need that course. But then I suppose babies are super resilient. Parents can be terrible, and babies come through it at the other side. So
yeah, I do wonder about the adoption laws and all that sort of stuff in this country and why they've always made it so difficult. to be of service, basically, to children who need somewhere and a home to live in and people to love them. And I just think, how can that be something that we regulate? And I get that the other country has a say as well, but how is that something that we regulate so strongly when, you know?
Particularly kids who are in international adoption, like it's the end of the line, because countries want to place them with families within their country, and it's literally the kids that just, for whatever reason, just can't be placed in their own country. So they're kind of so far at the end of the line that you think the process should not be harder.
Yeah.
It should be, I'm not saying it should be lax. There definitely should be checks in place. But if 100%. These kids literally have no other options, surely this is the best option, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I absolutely think that it should be a process that is made easier and I guess maybe not easier, but is better, like, supported or something like that.
Yeah.
Something, I don't know. I definitely didn't investigate anything far enough to have an opinion on the process of that sort of thing. But I just think from people that I've heard from that there's no way it should be that difficult.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't.
It's just like, crazy town.
So with 15 years of relationship and 13 years of marriage under your belt, what is your, like, biggest advice to the newlywed with 15 years ahead?
Yeah.
She's got to get through the next 15 years.
It's so many years. It's so many years. Yeah, I really do think that communication has to be key. And I think that you need to acknowledge whether you get married when you're 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, as a human, you're going to continue to change and grow, and you should definitely be doing that alongside of your partner and making sure that you're touching base with them and letting them know, you know, if something's happening for you, something's changing for you. I think it can be easy to assume that your partner is keeping up with those changes or, you know, or what's going on for you because you're sharing a house or you're sharing whatever. Just keep them up to date on you, and I think that can be done. We like to have breakfast or dinners. We just like to take some time and spend it together, and my earphones keep freaking dropping out of my ears today. But I just think it's, you know, sometimes we take a whole week and we go camping, and it's important to keep having those conversations, keep checking in with each other, and, you know, keep checking in on what you actually want out of life with each other. Because, it's pretty easy to... At one point, Kel and I had an argument because he never replies to my texts, which I find super annoying. He gets them, and, like, if I've asked for milk or if I've asked for him to transfer money or whatever, he does it, but he will never, like, he hardly ever replies. My message stream is, like, all me, and then the occasional... I'm just like, are you kidding? So, it can be easy to get caught up in the day-to-day of stuff and just be, you know, talking about grocery lists and how much money you need for the mortgage this month and all that sort of stuff. Do you have any advice from a newbie to someone who's been doing it for 100 years? Like, maybe I've forgotten something?
No way. I feel like it's the other way around. I feel like I should be asking all the questions.
No, it's a terrible plan.
Feed me all the information you can.
Yeah.
No, I suppose, like, if I was talking to someone who was about to get married, I would just say don't expect anything to change, because it really does not.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I was in long-term relationships before Jake, and I think it sounds so cliche, but I think you definitely know when the future looks easier.
Yeah.
Compared to someone who you think this is going to be like a battle every other day, or trying to get what's going to make me happy is going to be a battle every other day. Whereas for most of the part, everything is smooth sailing. And of course we have the occasional, very similar to the text message tips. Jake tries to instigate like sexting, and then I'm like not into it. And then he gets so mad.
That is the complete different situation. I'm talking about answer yes to pick up the milk. Not like send me your junk on Snapchat.
No, it's definitely not that kind of stuff. It's more like it's super tame. We're so tame. It's just like, hey, sexy. And then I'm like, hey, be home at 5. And he's like, but I need something else. Not that, hey, I'll be home at 5. Like,
yeah, it's
yeah,
like,
hey,
yeah. He's like, thanks, babe, I was making a move. Did you miss it?
Yeah. Exactly.
You missed it. It. Yeah, I always think it's quite funny because you see it a lot in movies where people are like, they're having a bit of a disconnect, and so one dresses up and is like laying on the moves or something, and the other just doesn't see it. They're so in their situation. Yeah, and I'm like, bullshit to that. I'd be like, excuse me, over here making a massive effort to like get your attention right now, so stop everything.
Yeah, there should be more actual fights where like, can't you see what I'm doing? Can't you see I'm making an effort? Why do you just ignore me? Yeah.
And I just think it's so important to not let that sort of stuff fester and simmer and turn into, fuck you, you never text me back about like anything. You just can't let it. You just got to have those things out and be like, actually, you're letting me down in this department. Because he's like, what? I got it. You saw it was delivered. Like, what more do you want, sort of thing? And I'm like, actually, what I want is for that to be acknowledged. And so now he knows that's what I want. That's what I need. And so if he chooses to ignore that now, then he's a dick. But, you know, it's kind of like you need to set out your expectations a little bit.
Yeah.
Earbud. Yeah, you need to set out your expectations a little and be quite clear about them, because you can be really upset about something and your partner can not even know what they've done wrong, or that you're like, they'll get that you're upset. Like, I haven't met a dude yet that can't feel that frosty vibe. You know,
or the washing the dishes and you kind of vigorously putting stuff in the tray. Like,
I'm not going anywhere near the fucking dishes if I'm angry. I'm like, nope. But yeah, I hate the dishes anyway. But yeah, I just think, you need to be able to say, this is my expectation and this is why I feel like you're not meeting it, and be able to hear that too. Because, there's been plenty of times that Kel's had to be like, so, dude, can you, clear some time in your schedule to see me this week, maybe? And I'm like, maybe. I'll take a look at my diary.
That's sweet.
Yeah, but it comes from the fact that, he could sit there and be, like, cranky and that he's been neglected. It doesn't take much then. When you know that's what he needs, it's pretty easy to be like, okay, well, let's go to dinner and a movie, and when we come home, I'll just work on the floor in front of the couch rather than go to the office. It's pretty easy to adjust your behaviour when you know what's happening. Yeah. I think
we've done that actually, like the spending time together. Jake will play the PlayStation, but he can play it on his computer rather than on the TV, so that I can watch TV, and then we're at least together, and you kind of have those natural conversations rather than, if he went to play the PlayStation wherever else, or I went off to my room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's good, because I had a partner before that that was never done. Like, it was kind of like, well, no, I want to, and he was a bit of a, like, game addict, like, would go 9 hours straight without coming up for air. Yeah. And he couldn't do the two things at the one time. Yeah. Whereas I at least find with Jake and I, he'll play, and then between, I don't know, the games or whatever the freak that he does on that thing, he'll like have a conversation, or it's a bit nicer that even though you're both doing completely different things, there's still some interaction rather than nothing for 8 hours.
Yeah. When we first met, Kelvin was still playing like Zelda or Halo or one of those sort of things. 1901, children. But and even though, like, I get bored quite easily, so more often than not, I'd end up sleeping. Often when I go to Liv and Ben's house, they love to play one of those games that has a bit of a story to it. Mm-hmm. And I will often sit on the couch and watch them play.
Like it's a movie?
Yeah, I'm like, this is like a choose your own adventure movie. And they're like, you're so lame. I'm like, yeah, no, I like it. I don't mind it. So yeah, I definitely can get that everyone should have their own hobby. That's something my parents have always said to us. Make sure you have your own life. Make sure you're your own person. Have other friends outside of your relationship. Have other interests. Mm-hmm. And I think, yeah, it can be really easy when you get busy to just be like, okay, I don't have time for anything, so we're going to basically like smush into the same person. Yeah. So, because it's the only way to spend time together. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's important to still be separate and do separate things and have separate interests, but sometimes they can definitely be on the same TV.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did see you guys were watching Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Oh my God, it's so cute.
It's so good. I finished watching the whole season. I cried every episode.
I did too. Amazing. I legitimately cried. And there was a few that, like, Kel was having himself a teary along with me. And I'm like, I remember when that first show came out. You know, what a massive...
what a big deal
thing it was.
Yeah, yeah.
And and even that gets me a little, like, misty-eyed, because I just think we've come a long way. Like, it's been slow and a lot of people have suffered along the way because we didn't do it faster. But I just think we've come so far from that first show being all about, like, fighting for people to accept them. You know, they were going into situations where they were clearly like, I hate gay people. Like, you've dropped me in a room full of gay men, and look at that one being a wanker, and look at that one. Yeah, and I just feel like this had a completely different vibe about it. And I feel like they didn't shy away from, oh my God, when they got pulled over in the police car.
That is my favourite one.
I said to Kelvin, I'm going to be sick. Like, yeah. Yeah, and I was just...
But them two riding the guy that they made over and the black guy in the car from Atlanta, talking about it, what it's like to be a black guy, what it's like to be a copper. Yeah. I was like, this is a, like, pivotal moment between a copper and an African American where they hate each other, and society's taught them to hate each other. Yeah. But they're not all like that. Like, not all coppers are aggressive and over the top, and not all African Americans are criminals and have done something wrong that deserve that excessive force. Yeah. It was beautiful. Oh my God, that was such a great...
So good. So good. So good. Anyway, I loved it. And, you know, and that happens for us sometimes. Like the other day, I was watching Vampire Diaries. Long story.
Whoa.
Yeah. I've been watching... I blame my sister. When I lived with her, she watched it and Teen Wolf. And when we moved into our house, I kept watching whenever a new season of any of them sort of came on Netflix. I'd just put them on and do what I was doing. So, yeah, I'm watching the final season, it was, of Vampire Diaries. And Kel, bless his heart, is like, oh, so... is that guy back? Like, you know, or, you know, oh, is that the sister of that? And I'm like, no, it's someone else, you know, but even though he's 100% not interested in the Vampire Diaries, he could tell I was pretty keen to watch this, like, big final season situation. And obviously a final season, all hell's breaking loose, so.
Of course,
yeah. Wouldn't be a final season if there wasn't a complete shit show. But, yeah, and so just even that, sort of demonstrating an interest in something that he 100% wasn't interested in. It didn't take much. He was, like, cooking dinner at the time and just shouting out from, like, the viewer thing from our kitchen. And, yeah, I just think it's important to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Relationships, man.
They're hard.
They are. They're also not that hard either. When you just think you just have to keep trying.
Yeah, I think it's like people forget you've got to treat it like anything. You've got to treat it like a friendship where you work on it. You make time for each other. You're there when your friend needs to vent or do whatever. It's the same for your husband or significant other because they're your friend as well.
Yeah.
Like most often best friend. So you've got to make the same.
I literally was like, no, God, no. But I guess...
My actual best friend will be like, bitch, did you just say
did
that?
you just say you're your best friend? Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I've never really got that. I think, was it like Channing Tatum and his wife?
Yeah.
One of them, or maybe it was Kirsten Bell. Anyway, one of those celebs who have the cool marriage or whatever, they're the like latest thing, were like, I think there's a lot to be said for this whole best friend sort of thing. And I do get you do have to treat the relationship like with a certain level of care and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I've never really considered Kel my best friend. He probably is though. He's definitely the friend I see most often. Does that win points? Or it's just well, he's here all the time. Does that make him my best friend?
But you definitely need the friend that you can whinge about Kel too, because I definitely have the friend that I whinge about Jake too, and the mother and the sister, and the podcast.
And be like, life is so hard. Kel, the guys at work think it's funny because Kel, it always sounds like Kel's in trouble because I'm like, oh my God, and like, because the other day I tripped over he'd taken off his sneakers right in front of the couch and I wasn't paying attention. It's completely my own fault. And I like walked past and like tripped over them a little bit and all I could picture as I stumbled in that minute was falling on our glass coffee table and being impaled and dying and whatever. And I was just like, God, I hate that. Like, it drives me insane. So then, for some reason, I was telling the boys at work about this stupid situation with the dying on a coffee table and whatever. And it occurred to me how often I have these stories where Kel is like the shit one. Wrong. And I'm like, I was texting and walking and, whatever. But Kel, oh my God. So, yeah, I used to think, I don't complain about Kel at all. But I do. I like to make him the bad guy in my stories.
That's what they're for.
Yeah, the lovable buffoon. I'm dead now. This is my end. It's been nice knowing you, podcast.
My champagne's done. We're done.
It is. Well, we're super done. We've actually, for something that we were worried wouldn't maybe be a whole episode, we're definitely cranked out a whole episode.
We nailed it. Relationships, hard, but some solid advice. I feel like some solid advice in there.
I think this was fun. Thanks for the catch-up. Sorry that I basically technically asked you if you were breeding. I'm not.
And I basically was like, why are you not breeding?
Yeah, tell me. I'm like, we just became those people that were like, really? Really? You had to know right now?
Yeah. You needed to know all the things.
But yeah, thanks for being here, guys. We appreciate you tuning in. If you're on YouTube, I hope you're enjoying the footage and the coverage and all that sort of stuff. If you're on iTunes and SoundCloud, thanks for your ongoing support. Don't forget to leave a review or a comment or a like or all those things that all the platforms like. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Yeah, I was like, where's the goodbye wave? Bye-bye.
For today's show notes, you can visit our website, www.sugarandink.com. You can also send us in any questions or topics you would like us to cover at hello@sugarandink.com. You can connect with us on social media using @sugarcoated and @blondinkaus.